The names behind buildings are often overlooked, but in the case of Osborne Hall, the name should never be forgotten. In 1964, Dr. Paul Cunningham came to Olathe, Kansas as a young pastor to a young church. He had a mission to start the next Nazarene campus, and this mission led him to Robert R. Osborne. A native of Olathe, Osborne was an established senior officer at Patrons Bank and Trust, now known as Bank of America. These two men forged a relationship based on their Christian values, and after 2 years of paperwork and donations, Osborne had made a monetary gift, given 80 acres of farmland, and approved a sizable loan for what would become MidAmerica Nazarene College. 2 years after MidAmerica's founding in 1966, a building was completed that served as an administration building. That building was later dedicated to Mr. Osborne's honor and now serves as the Science and Mathematics Department building for MidAmerica Nazarene University.
One of the interesting things about Osborne is it was one of the original 4 or 5 buildings that were here when the campus started to hold classes, 1968. So Osborne was built, I think, in 67 and 68, getting ready for the opening of the school. And I don't know how much you know about history of energy in this country, but back then gas was like 30 cents a gallon, and so when they built Osborne there was absolutely no insulation in the building. It was just block walls, that's all. And so when we did the remodel in 1989, by then of course energy costs had soared, and it was deemed wise to put some insulation in the building. So what they did, they actually took walls like this and they brought them in 4 inches. All around the building they had to put insulation in and then put a new wall in. So now the building does have some insulation, and hopefully we're not wasting too much money with our heating.
Well, Osborne has been my home for the last 8 years in this office right here, and the thing I like the best about this, how close our offices are. Our department is very collegial, we get along really well, and I think part of that has to do with us all being in the same building. I know when I first started here, my first 2 years my office was over in Metz, and not that I didn't like who I was officing with over there, but it was just nice to get the department together, so Osborne has provided that for me.
Probably the biggest change that happened in this building over the 31 years I've been here was the remodel. For the first 21 years that Osborne existed, it was not the science building, it was the administration building with science just located on the 2nd floor. And so we were very crammed. We actually had as many students back then as we do now. And 1989, I think, was the year we were able to remodel, and the administrators moved out of here over into Lund, the old library, and science got the whole building. And not only did we get the 2nd floor, which greatly expanded our classroom space and things we could do, but they actually added on the south side of the building, the greenhouse, the animal room, and 3 prep room areas were all brand new in '89, and that really helped us with what we could do.
In today's labs at MidAmerica, the chemistry department uses both traditional wet techniques with beakers and flasks, as well as more modern techniques with high-tech equipment. This equipment has been purchased with school-raised funds and federal grants over the last several years, and is an integral part of the education that science majors receive throughout their time here. Equipment available includes an atomic absorption spectrometer, which measures the amount of metal in solutions, a gas chromatograph mass spectrometer to separate and calculate amounts of various mixtures, a more advanced high-performance liquid chromatograph, an infrared spectrometer to identify organic compounds, and an ultraviolet visible spectrometer which passes light through solutions to measure the wavelengths absorbed by the solution.
Okay, in this room, we share this with forensic science people, and so we teach forensic science here, and a lot of the equipment you see, like the smoke chamber over there, the fume chamber, are used in forensic sciences. But my embryology lab's in here. I'll show you some of the technology because we keep it in another room. We use digital cameras in the embryology lab. We also do a discussion course in here, special topics where we read scientific articles and discuss them together. And we use this room also for formal presentation for biology seminar, in which students study a research article and then present it as if they were part of the research team. Okay, this is the room in which we do some biological research. What you're looking at right now is equipment for some very successful microbiological research that Dr. Taylor's doing. So this is his setup for counting colonies and for growing and measuring and otherwise preparing things. A lot of these are kept in that what looks like a refrigerator is an incubator. Right here in the foreground we have two digital microscopes that I mentioned that we use in embryology. You were looking earlier at some embryology slides. So this has been a really successful thing this year. The students have really done a good job of using the digital microscopes effectively, and they prepare reports with the images. They label the images. It's really professional looking. It looks like it ought to be in a textbook. This is the microbiology lab. We have our best microscopes here, as you're seeing in the cabinet right now, and then this lab is used only for microbiology and for nothing else. So we do regular microbiology labs, and we're right now doing some of that research we talked about. We've expanded the research into this room so that you can see some of the specimens back here. This is a sort of a new kind of technology. It's a lot simpler than the digital cameras that you saw. And this one uses just a normal microscope. This is a dissecting microscope. And you can use it with a smartphone. And this is an image right here that's been produced by this system. All we have to do is get this simple adapter. And the adapter attaches to the lens system. And every student that has a smartphone then can take their own images. They don't need those expensive digital cameras anymore. So that's sort of what the future is, that every student is going to have a smart camera or a smartphone with a camera and be able to take pictures with this alignment mechanism. And this only costs $70. So this is sort of the future. It's simple instrumentation. These are gel electrophoresis chambers. They're used for separating the bands of DNA for DNA identification. And this over here is a southern blot apparatus for doing the prints of those, what we get off those gels. We actually make prints on film so that you can use it for scientific purposes and dispense with the gels, which are fragile. This is some more equipment related to DNA. This is called a robocycler. It's a machine that automatically moves DNA specimens from one set of chambers to another, changing the temperature, activating different enzyme systems, and it is what actually breaks up the DNA into its particular pieces so that we can then put it on the gel electrophoresis apparatus. This is a prep room. This is where we put together different kinds of labs where we assemble them. We also keep our specimens here in tanks, in buckets and refrigerators to preserve them for the students' use. This is another preparation area. We don't keep specimens in here, we keep supplies, but we put labs together. We do lab testing in here. And the student workers also have a desk here if they wish to do their studying, for the personal belongings and things as they're assisting in lab. It's also overlooks the greenhouse. Prop Morrison is redoing the greenhouse, so he's cut down all the specimens and is building back all the plants. And we also use it for experimentation for botany. They do botany projects in there. That's probably why that space is cleared up, so they can do their projects. Okay, this is the comparative anatomy lab, also used for anatomy and physiology. And the students, all of them are dissecting a necturus, which is a mud puppy, is a common name. And they're getting ready to study the nervous system. So they've done all the other systems. We're down at the end of the semester. So they're doing the final work on the necturus.
She gave me the hardest part because you didn't have to get that. No, thanks.
Hey, you were the one who didn't want to.
Oh my gosh. I knew that's the part I was looking at. Okay, I'll figure
I'm
it
going
out.
to watch that documentary Close Over now.
Eating callous.
Take it slow.
One of the things I remember when I was first, that I didn't like about this building when I was first over here, I would come in very early, sometimes around 7:30 in the morning, and at that time we were doing general chemistry labs, and those labs started at 6:30, and the building just reeked. It was not fun at all. I'd get a headache, and I know Teddy Hewitt said that she wanted to go home. The smell was so bad that she didn't think she could take it, and I remember that Clarence Lindsay, who was a chemistry professor here for years, said that we were blaming him for it because it was the chemistry lab, and he said it wasn't the chemistry lab, but it only happened on Tuesday and Thursday mornings when the chemistry lab was going, not on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so I think it was the chemistry lab.
Well, like any building, Osborne has had its share of incidences. The one I remember best was a professor's office that caught on fire, and we were all just up here working and minding our business, and one of the professors was running down the hallway shouting, "Fire, fire, I'm not kidding guys, fire!" And so we all ran down there, and indeed the flames were going clear from the floor to the ceiling, and some of the professors got all the fire extinguishers they could find and ran in there. I got to go break the fire alarm, and you know, within 1 minute of breaking that fire alarm, you could hear the sirens, the trucks coming down the street. Fortunately, we got it out ourselves by the time the fire trucks got here, but the smell, you know, when a plastic computer burns up and things like that. We've had another fire when they were remodeling down in the entryway to Osborne. They had put a hole in the wall into the furnace room, and they thought nothing of it, but there were things stored in there, and when students came in the front door and the wind got through that hole and it blew things over towards the furnace, and it actually caught on fire, and fire trucks had to come then. We've also had tremendous leaks. For years, this building was horrible. I still remember one time I was in a different office than I am now, but I literally had my bookcases totally covered with plastic because water was coming down like a waterfall from the ceiling. And I remember Dr. Owens, who was president then, was walking through the building, and he looked in my office and said, "Bill, what is that?" And I just explained to him, and he said, "We're going to fix that." Well, they tried 3 times. They even had a working witness team from one of the districts came, and every time these people would fix the leaking roof, it would leak somewhere else. But eventually they put on a hurricane, they said it was tested in Florida, a hurricane-proof roof, and we've not had leaks now for about 10 years. It's fixed.